Okay, Monero, what's up? Welcome back. So the day has come. MoneroKon is tomorrow, and I'm here in Prague. Thank God I made it. It's been quite a month, honestly. I landed here about a month ago, and it's been a freaking just adventure ever since. We went from Bucharest to Cluj uh, to Aradia to Budapest to Split, Croatia, and then we worked our way up Central Europe and are now here in Prague. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and Europe is so freaking awesome, dude. Just. I saw Vic commenting today on something Seth for Privacy said, and he said that European coffee, like the worst European coffee, is better than the best American coffee. And I have to agree, dude. Like the coffee here is insane. I've been honestly indulging a little bit too much in the European coffee. Like I think I've been kind of cracked out of my head ever since I got here on coffee, and like I've been just very imbalanced because of it. And I can't stop drinking it. It tastes so good. Like I'm doing the iced lattes. They have all these different kinds of mocha coffee. They have iced chocolate. Have you ever heard of such a thing, iced chocolate? Where it's like an ice cold glass of chocolate milk, but it has espresso in it. They have something called Afrogave or Afrogade. I forgot what it was called, but I had it on an island in Croatia called Hvar, and it's espresso mixed with ice cream. So like literally everything here has freaking coffee in it. And everything here tastes amazing. Like the food is incredible. I've had so many just amazing dishes. I can't even think of them all right now. They're like on the Instagram. So if you want to go check out my Instagram, I have some of the dishes on there. But literally, like everything here is so good. It's like a giant museum that you walk around in with just beautiful architecture, beautiful people, and you just get to enjoy the best coffee and the best food wherever you go to see all these beautiful things about the history of Europe. Now, it's just a beautiful experience. I could doom out about where Europe is going, but other like Eastern Europe and Central Europe, still wonderful, wonderful, wonderful places to live as far as I'm concerned, especially if you're making American money. That's been something that people have consistently told me. If you are able to make American money, or if you're able to make at least just Western money, and you can work remote in like Eastern Europe or Central Europe, you can live a pretty freaking good quality of life. And that's something that I found to be the case. Just everything is so amazing. And it makes me want to move here, even though America is kind of my true home. I'm kind of split, to tell you the truth. It's like, do I really want to move out here and kind of set up a life here, or do I want to, stay in the States and soldier it out with the bros in Appalachia? I don't know, because I have some friends who don't want to leave Appalachia, and they're like, I'm gonna die here. They're like the last bros at the Alamo. They're never leaving. And there's something I deeply respect about that. But then again, the quality of life is so good over here compared to America in so many ways, it's kind of unreal. But I could go on a tangent about that. Maybe I should make a separate video about it. But MoneroKon is tomorrow. I have my notepad ready. I'm ready to take notes and learn. And if you saw me at MoneroTopia last year, I was always walking around with a notepad. I was always learning, trying to get new things in my brain so that I could present Monero to new people in a way that doesn't make me look like a total crazy person, because crypto nowadays is completely different than what it was 10, 15 years ago. And I probably don't have to explain that to any of you. It's kind of an uphill battle after we've had like Terra Luna collapse, after we've had FTX, after we've had all the meme coins and the gambling, and even Trump coming out with his own coin. It's just like crazy out there, and very few people actually take it seriously for what it's supposed to be. And that's something I like about this conference. Apparently there's also a Bitcoin conference going on here, and I've seen people say that, hey, if you get bored of the Bitcoin conference and you get deep enough in the rabbit hole, you can head over to the MoneroKon conference where the real action is. And I think that that's probably a good approach. And going to MoneroTopia last year, I feel somewhat prepared for MoneroKon, but from what I understand, this is a much more technical conference. Like the stuff that's being discussed here is like super high IQ and high level, and I am not ashamed at all to go into that situation as the dumbest person that's probably going to be there, and that's probably going to be the case. And these people like too smart to have YouTube channels. Like they are privacy oriented. They're developers. They're philosophers. They have all these just amazing ideas as to the capacities of Monero and what bounds that we can take this to, which is really exciting. So I'm excited to talk to a few of those people. I don't think I can do interviews in MoneroKon because you can't really bring like a camera in, as far as I understand. So if I do want to interview you tomorrow at MoneroKon or the day after, I think I'm just staying 2 days because I kind of anticipated 3 days would be a little bit much for me. That's what somebody else had told me when they were talking about MoneroKon to me. They said that it gets pretty heady and you're a little bit zapped after the 3rd day. But if I interview you, I'll just do it classical, notepad, paper, audible questions. I swear I won't juice what you say for the camera. I'm not the New York Times or something like that. But I do want to have a little bit of a journalistic effort when I go there, so that not only I can learn, but also you can learn. And there's a lot to learn about everything in this space. There's something that happened recently where there was a report that came out about Zano. And there's been a lot of different talk about this over the last couple of days. I've wanted to kind of wait and see what the response from the Zano team is going to be. I read the report and I talked to one person who will remain anonymous, who's like one of the better tech-oriented people in the Monero space about this, and we had a conversation privately about this report and what it means and what the implications are, not only for Zano, but for crypto as a whole, because what kind of happened, just to give you the lowdown, and I'm not educated on this enough to really give this kind of lowdown yet, but go check out the reports on Twitter if you're in the space, then you'll see it. But basically, somebody had set up like spy nodes in the Zano network. And so if you have like, a desktop wallet and you have your own node, then you're being connected with these spy nodes. And if you're staking, then they would be able to see your IP address pop up if you received a staking reward. And that's, as far as I understand, what happened with that. There's other implications. We'll get to those. But essentially what this makes it, if you're not using a VPN, and it seems according to the research that not many people use VPNs when they're transacting with Zano or they're staking with Zano, which not a great idea. You should be using a VPN when you're doing anything online, I think. And ideally, when you use a VPN, you use something like Molovad VPN, a VPN that you're not paying for with fiat, with a card that's tied to your name. Ideally, you set up an account that's anonymous. You pay for the account with Monero or cash in the mail or a prepaid card or something like that, so that they don't know who you are when you get your VPN set up. And that makes it so that it's a lot more anonymous, and so they can't really look at what your IP address is doing on their end, and find a way to link that back to you. So that's like the most secure way to do it. Although if you're using a VPN, you're probably okay. A lot of them are honeypots, but Proton is another one that's a little bit questionable for me. I have seen that they don't keep logs, but they are partnered with the WEF. Although it has been disclosed in court cases that they don't actually keep logs, and they do have some privacy guarantees, but they don't accept Monero, and there's this whole thing about that. And so people have started to use other emails, which is something I asked about recently on Twitter. What's a more private email than Proton Mail? And some people laughed at me because I asked, what's a more private email? I guess there really isn't a private email. You shouldn't be using emails for privacy, which is a good point. You probably shouldn't, but privacy-oriented is what I meant. And let me look that up for you just because we're on the topic at this point. It was like Tullamore or something like that, like Tullamore do VPN or emails. Hold on. My hotel Wi-Fi is not very good. Let me see. Tuta privacy, Tuta privacy. And they got quite a lot more followers after my post. A lot of people bookmarked that post. 58 bookmarks on that post. Wow, I didn't expect that to really blow up. But we should all start using more private solutions. But yeah, so back to the de-anonymization thing. And I had to take some time to really dig into this because a lot of people are sensationalizing it. People, they just want to root for the downfall of other projects, which I don't think is a really good thing. I've met the people on the Zano team. They're very well-meaning people, and I've talked to them on and off for about 4 years. So usually I can sniff out if something is sketchy or not. And I know there are parts of the project that people don't like, right? The pre-mine, and then you have the proof of stake on the pre-mine, and people have problems with that. And some people are not happy about the fact that they're going to total proof of stake, or that's the direction that they want to go. Where right now they have private proof of work, proof of stake. I think the project, if it remains, to be a private crypto and they're heading in the right direction, it's something to pay attention to. I think the Freedom Dollar is an exciting thing. I think that if confidential layer works, that's pretty cool too. I've never really been against Zano. And I have always said Monero is the better privacy coin for transaction, for payments, but it'd be cool to have, a private ecosystem like the one that Zano's trying to build. And, I could go on and on and on, right? I've made videos about this. But when I read the report, it doesn't really seem like things were totally de-anonymized. And I had spoken with one of the people I had mentioned earlier, who was, the Monero tech guy I was telling you about. He'll remain anonymous, but he's well aware of this report. I had asked him, I said, let's see. Yeah, I've got some questions. I want to talk to you about this. VPN is just a server you're giving your IP address to and trusting. Often they end up being honeypots. So one of the suggestions was for people to be using Dandelion++. And gosh, I'm not really presenting this really well. Okay, so let me go back for a second and just better explain what happened here. The amounts were not disclosed in transactions that were being done. So that's just something I want to get off the table right off the bat. There was no de-anonymizing of amounts of transactions or in transactions that were being done between people, and people's balances can't be seen. There is this thing where people are trying to estimate the amount of Zano that big whales have in their wallets based on the staking rewards that they're getting. And they're doing that by linking the staking rewards to the IP address of the people who are staking. And if you get a certain amount of Zano, every, X amount of time, then it can be presumed that you have a certain amount of Zano. And I kind of have some problems with the assumptions underlying that, but that's where they're coming from. And if you're not using a VPN when you're staking, then they could link your IP address with those stake rewards and therefore with how much you have. And then I think their perspective on the de-anonymization is they can see basically who owns the network. That's their perspective. I don't know if that's true. They didn't disclose what the IP addresses were of those people. They said that they will if the Zano team does not provide, some kind of decent publicity of this report. And the report, I think, is a good report. I'm grateful for the report. I actually don't think it's FUD, as some people have said. But I think that it's an educational report for all of us on network privacy and the importance of that. Because if you have proof of stake and you are not protecting your IP address, and you're announcing to the network that you're receiving stake rewards over a certain period, then people can link what kind of how much you have. And there are implications where it's okay, well, what if you split the amount of Zano you have into different wallets, right? And you have those different wallets on different computers, and those different computers have different VPNs. I mean, could they really know at that point? I think this just requires a little bit more OPSEC. And furthermore, I talked to somebody from the Zano team, and they're actually going to be coming out with a statement, to address all this. soon, according to the person I had talked to. But I just want to tell you what they said. Because we had talked about this, and I didn't want to be extravagant with this kind of post, and I also didn't want to come out defending, you know, Zano just looking like a shill or something like that. I wanted to really kind of understand this. So, okay. Sorry, I got to pull this stuff up. These are conversations I had. So they had said first off on the Zano Telegram, if you are uncomfortable with other nodes connecting directly to yours, a VPN isn't the only solution. You can configure your node to block random connections and instead use your own trusted subset or connect only to public nodes and core infrastructure nodes like the Explorer or mobile wallet. And the person who wrote the report seemed to have some issues with this as well, because if you're using like a mobile wallet, then you're using like a separate server, and who knows what kind of information that server is keeping about your transactions, right? That was one of their perspectives, because the report, the general idea was, okay, y'all are trying to get blockchain privacy and decentralization. Understandable. But there's another level to that. And this is where I'm getting educated, because this was not on my radar. And, maybe I look like a total idiot in that case. That's totally fine. I'm an idiot. That's fine. But the decentralization of the network layer and the privacy of the network, that's something that the reporters had a problem with. And it's not that the amounts aren't private that are being transacted. It's that you only have a few nodes and you only have a few servers, and a lot of these nodes and servers are picking up a lot of IP information about the people who are using the network. And depending on whether or not those people are staking, whether or not those people are using centralized exchanges, whether or not those people are using like swap services, which are KYC, there's a lot of information on the meta level, which could be gathered by people who are using Zano. That, I think, is generally what the report is saying. And so this is sort of a solution to that. If you're somebody who's trying to protect your anonymity further, because yes, the amounts are maybe being obfuscated, but it's still showing that you're using the Zano network if you're not obfuscating your IP address. And evidently, according to the report, not a lot of people were doing that. And that's not good. You have to be using a VPN when you use crypto, even when you use Monero. See, this is interesting. I want to bring up this conversation I had with this gentleman who will remain anonymous. I think you all know who he is, but he will remain anonymous. He's a very smart person. So this is what I said. Okay, I said, first off, I'm learning a lot about the importance of Dandelion++ and the need to pick VPN providers wisely. But the de-anonymization aspect of the report seems to have the lack of Dandelion++ or inbuilt Tor as being the main issues. The quote-unquote network anonymity set seems to be the crux of the issue. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing about transaction amounts that are being disclosed. The staking amount disclosures seem to be only problematic for those with significant amounts and are not using VPNs. And I talked about splitting up the staking. The staking thing seems a little bit like that doesn't really seem to be a problem for the vast majority of Zano users. Maybe it's a problem for people who have a lot of Zano and are staking it or not using VPN. That might be an issue for you. But let's see. And even then, how much of an issue is it? If somebody gets your IP address, they may know the city and the state that you're in, right? But maybe that's a computer that's in another place that isn't necessarily where you are. So there's a lot of assumptions that go into that as well. It would really be law enforcement who has access to subpoenaing internet providers, and correct me if I'm wrong, who would be able to then get the information as to who that belongs to, right? So again, it's this total de-anonymization. Just questions I'm asking. And so this person responds, VPNs are good for small things, but it's a good idea to send all of your transactions over Tor, even if they're Monero transactions, is what he's getting at. A VPN is really just a server that you're giving your IP address to and trusting, and often they end up being honeypots. Dandelion is important because it obscures the transaction origin. If an adversary spins up many spy nodes, they can actually sniff out where a transaction originates from. It is really crucial for a project to be on top of this because spy nodes can trivially accomplish this if there aren't many transactions happening. To give you an example of how difficult this is to counteract, spy nodes can actually attack Dandelion++. So Monero is even still dealing with this problem. That's shocking, right? Because, we just kind of figure, like, if you use Monero, it's plug and play private, you're fine. But apparently, this kind of attack could actually de-anonymize people who are using perhaps even Monero and perhaps even other private cryptos and just cryptos in general. So this is like a next level kind of consideration that I think a lot of crypto developers need to have, because it's not necessarily just about the privacy on the blockchain. It's how do we provide easy network privacy to the users. And the Zano team has said that they have tried to implement default Tor routing for transactions. I think that's the proper terminology. And they couldn't do it because a lot of the transactions failed when that was happening. So they took it off. And the author of the paper, the reporter, is seemingly wanting them to implement something like Dandelion++. And Dandelion++, let's see, it basically is like it's like a mixer for IP addresses or something like that. I think that's probably the right way to put it. Okay, I'm not an expert on this stuff, right? Even though I've talked about Monero for years, I'm not an expert on Dandelion++. But let me tell you what the developer had said to me regarding this. I'm trying to keep people anonymous just because I don't want to disclose private conversations. But let's see. So this person had said, Dandelion doesn't solve this issue either. It just creates a false sense of security. And I've heard this from other people in the space who have been talking about this report. There's this, initiative to implement Dandelion. And maybe that makes things a little bit better, but that offers a false sense of security, because if you're thinking that you yourself don't have to do something because there's some part of the protocol which is doing it for you, it may not be doing as well as if you do it yourself. And that's, I think, why it was advised by the other gentleman to use Tor regardless if you're going to be using Monero. Don't rely necessarily just on Dandelion++ to obfuscate your IP. And he continues, this is why Zano had left it out of the scope, is because it creates this false sense of security. There's no real solution to this yet beyond restricting connections to specific nodes. Everything else introduces its own set of trade-offs, and so the approach is to leave it up to the user. Okay. Now, I think it's a good idea for users to know this before they start interacting with this. And this should honestly be like a big public service announcement for people who are using private cryptos, which is, look, the transaction amounts are going to be obscured. Okay, that's the case with Monero and Zano. Your transaction amounts are obscure. Your transaction balances are obscure. But if you want nobody to know that you're using the blockchain at all, probably a good idea if you don't stake. Okay, that I think has privacy problems. Unless like you do it really sophisticatedly, when you have like, a bunch of like computers with like small amounts of Zano, and they're all using different VPNs, and like maybe they're in different geographic districts. I mean, I don't know, like you figure out a way to set that up. But I think the staking part may present a privacy problem if you're not careful. And if you want to just have nobody know that you're using Zano or Monero or any of these private cryptos, you've got to be on your game when it comes to VPN, when it comes to Tor. Like, this is stuff that I didn't realize was this serious of an issue. And it's so good that we have this report to kind of show us that, because this is a serious issue. Now, is it total de-anonymization? Again, I don't think so. I think people are being very sensationalist about this. I don't think that people are going to be doxxed, and I don't think that people's amounts are going to be disclosed. And I think that the Zano rich list, which has been going around, is like a bunch of estimates that, probably rest on a number of assumptions. And their experiment, I don't think, has been going on too long, or long enough to really make any kind of decent educated guess as to how much Zano each wallet has. Because there are some times where it's like, if you have 1,000 coins in your wallet, and I'm just saying, like, for any kind of staking, I'm not saying this specifically for Zano, it's like, okay, well, you'll get like an asymmetric amount of staking rewards, and then maybe you'll go for months without getting a staking reward. It really can be that random. Now, over the long period, there's a bell curve, and the statistical averages are going to play out. But it's over an X amount of period of time. And they did say in the report that, as time goes on, they'll be able to have a better understanding as to how much these wallets have, because they'll have more time and the statistical averages will play out. They did say that in the report. But I still have concerns about that, because they're transacting. These wallets, presumably they're transacting, and the balances are changing all the time, and the number of people who are staking at any given moment is changing. And so there are a lot of assumptions with this, right? But still, these are good things to know. So if people are coming to the space, first off, we have to note to people that KYC is a real problem. And not having good network security and OPSEC mixed with using KYC is a big problem. Even if you're using Monero, I think it's a problem. Because going back to this gentleman, this guy said, I told him, I said, I said, look, I'm a dummy, man. I need your help to understand some of this, because I've been in this space a while, but some of this goes over my head, and I need your help to explain some of this to me. And he said that you're fine. It's a little secret that spy nodes can basically take down every or almost every privacy-focused crypto. Okay, I'm going to say that again. A little secret is that spy nodes can basically take down almost every privacy-focused crypto. Everyone is focused on privacy on the blockchain, but not realizing that outside metadata is far more concerning. KYC exchanges, for example. But worse is usage of cryptocurrency through the ClearNet. And he said, for example, the attack against Zano would also work presumably against Pirate Chain, Zcash, I don't see why not, etc. And so he said then, let me rephrase, he said KYC metadata is hands down the biggest issue facing cryptocurrency privacy, and network OPSEC is a massive attack vector that is often overlooked. So this is actually very important. This is not FUD, but this is not the de-anonymization of Zano. This is actually like a really good conversation we need to have, and I feel like there's just a bunch of like mudslinging. There's just a bunch of people wanting to say like, that dude's a scammer, that dude's a fudster. I honestly think this opens the door for like a really good conversation for like the entire space to have about network OPSEC, because this makes me never want to use a KYC exchange again. This makes me want to use a VPN every time I turn on my phone. This makes me legit a little bit paranoid. I could see being paranoid about using Bitcoin or like a transparent blockchain just because of the lack of obfuscation on the blockchain level. But you mix that with what we're talking about here, with network, like a lack of network anonymity. It's just like, dude, you're messing with something. You're cooking, dude. Like, you're really opening the door to like incredible levels of surveillance and trouble. And I don't think that people really understand this. And this should be like a huge public service announcement to everybody, because everyone's talking about, including myself, everyone's talking about anonymity and like transparency on the blockchain level, but like really the network level is a super important level that people just don't think enough about. We're talking about spy nodes. I know that in Monero, there was a conversation for a while about malicious nodes, where it's like you accidentally connect to a malicious node, and maybe they charge you like an insane transaction fee and end up taking a lot of your crypto. Like that's pretty crazy, right? That's again a network thing. And most people don't think about the network stuff. They think about the blockchain stuff. So maybe this is something that like I need to do some interviews with people on. Maybe this is like this actually feels like important to talk about. So again, I don't think that anybody's in trouble if you have been using Zano. And if you haven't been using a VPN, at worst, somebody knows that somebody in your geographic area was using Zano. That's my summation based on the report. If you weren't staking, you're probably fine. If you were staking but you weren't, getting a lot of rewards, you're probably fine. If you're a whale that wasn't using a VPN and you were staking, you were getting a lot of rewards, then you're probably on the grid with these people. That's my analysis of the situation. Now, it doesn't matter if you're on the grid with these people. I don't know how dangerous these people are. I don't know who these people are, and I don't know if like they can then figure out what your identity is if if they know your IP address. Like I don't know what the implications of all this would be, but I don't think that this is what a lot of people are saying it is. So that's my honest analysis of the situation. I'm excited to be at MoneroKon because it gives me an opportunity to talk with people way smarter than me about this, and people way more educated about this topic. And I'd love to see how it is that we can like really minimize this matter. And also, there is somebody I just followed today. He's from the NYM project. NYM. And these people are focused on network level privacy. Now, this is something that I've seen around the NYM people, but this isn't something that, he's actually talking at MoneroKon too. That's pretty sweet. So I hope to meet this guy. I mean, this is exactly the guy I need to talk to. Harry Halpin. Okay, so Harry, what's up? I'm excited to meet this dude. This is the CEO and co-founder of NYM. And NYM is on-chain privacy, network level privacy. It's like some kind of mixer, right? Let's see. But I think you got to pay for it. The question is, how do you pay for it? Do you pay for it with the NYM cryptocurrency? Maybe that's how they do it. It's all very interesting. Go check out NYM. Maybe this is the future, dude. Maybe this is what we all need to be using. Again, I'll take notes at his talk. When is this? I'm curious when the talk is. Should probably look this up after the video, but y'all know me. I'm ADD. As soon as I get locked in on something, we're locked in, dude. When are you talking, dude? How NYM VPN works. So it is a kind of VPN. Mixed net. That's the word I was looking for. It's a mixed net. I don't know what a mixed net is. But, yeah. So that's my analysis of the situation. What else do I want to say? I guess that I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. Let's all get along. Let's all be friends. Stand by for FUSD, the first private stablecoin. Yeah, everyone was expecting Zano to crash after all this, but literally everything is just kind of carrying on, as it always has. Nobody really cares, at least in Zano world. I know that a lot of Monero bros thought Zano was going to crash after this report. Now, when I saw the report, I was like, dang, this is bad. But then I read it, and then I talked to some knowledgeable people, just asked some questions, and I didn't knee-jerk into some crazy talk like a lot of you people did online. You made a fool of yourself. You gotta ask some questions, dude. You gotta actually ask some questions. Some respectable people that I saw on the internet just make a total fool of themselves by looking goofy talking about this report. ask some questions, like be nuanced. Um, but yeah, I was kind of shocked. I was like, whoa. And then I read it and I was like, okay, well, this is something to talk about. So just another way that we can all improve our privacy. So I'm thankful to the people who wrote this report, and I haven't mentioned the people who wrote it once, so I should probably do that. I think you had to be on like dark web to access this report. I think I tried to Monero Maverick. I saw the full report under Monero Maverick's Twitter, who is a controversial gentleman in our space. But shouts out to Maverick. Thanks for posting all this. You can see the full report on his Twitter. Basically, he took snippets of all of it. I tried to find the link for it. I couldn't find it. But who are you people? Golly. Oh, here we go. Zaldo, Ritualist Introduction, Jay Hendricks. Okay, so Jimi Hendrix wrote it. Shouts out. Awesome. Rock and roll. Okay. Although Maverick, he did say Zano has been cracked. It's just not what happened. But appreciate you posting the report anyway. But yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I'm excited for all the talks. Excited to take notes. Excited to talk to a lot of you. That's all I got to say. Manolo Mateo, God bless. See you tomorrow.